So that's when it all started, really, and that's when I started to really, because I formed it. I started to put my stamp on
Oh,
on
yeah.
on John's Boys, what it stood for, and then it's another learning curve, I would say, and things take time to gel as a choir. Things take time to be recognised as well. People just don't have instant success, sort of thing.
Yeah. Good morning, Aloud. It's so great to meet you here on Zoom.
Good morning. Lovely to meet you too.
Where are you based exactly, Aloud?
Oh, I'm sitting now in rainy Wrexham, North Wales. So it's chucking it down this morning.
Oh,
Cold.
really? Well, beautiful Wales, and also known for producing wonderful singers. And you are a choir director.
Yes, Wales is renowned as the land of song. And we've had over the years, and still have some fantastic singers. And currently I conduct a choir called John's Boys, a male voice chorus, with a bit of a twist, I would say. Which
Okay.
it's having a lot of success, I would say, at the moment. Yeah, we're doing really, really well.
But Wales is also known for male choirs. I mean, you get beautiful male voices then there. Not that I say the women don't have nice voices, but I mean, you always hear about the male choirs of Wales.
Yes, yeah, it's the tradition, I would say, from years and years back, through the sort of the coal mines, the different industries where the men in Wales would go and sing songs to make them feel good, religious songs, love songs. So it was a bit of a community, and I would say most villages would have possibly 2 or 3 male voice choirs in their village. So it is a tradition that's gone for generations and generations.
Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that's where it originated.
Yeah, and obviously it was a source where people could write music for the choirs because they had to perform something because it's a specific genre of music. So the settings, there'd be tremendous settings by Welsh composers, well, British composers really for male voice choirs. And some of these pieces are absolutely incredible. We don't hear them as much these days because the forces you need to sing them, because many years back you'd have choirs of 150, easily 150 men.
Really?
Yes, and
Huge.
yeah, and we'd hear, I'd hear stories of, of they would go down the mine for all day and he'd come home and wouldn't even get washed and go straight to, say, Miners Institute, straight to the choir rehearsal sort of thing, and maybe two nights a week. But these pieces that they were performing were huge in length and in the sort of the force of the song as well that you needed. Yeah, so they're incredible pieces. So they've sort of gone together, I would say, over the years. Wonderful compositions and wonderful choirs.
So did you sing in a choir yourself?
Yeah, yes, I was. My father was in a choir, and at a young age, I would go to the rehearsals. If my mum was going out to one of her things, I would have to go and sit in choir rehearsal in the back. And I remember being very young, maybe 10 years of age, sitting in the back listening, and then I think I just got an ear for it, I suppose, and that came the norm. And I would ask to go. So whereas I started off having to go because there's nobody to look after me at home, I started to say, "Oh, can I come and listen?" So at the age of 13, I actually joined.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember having a suit which was way too big because I was men's size suits. This suit was humongous. Yeah, and I think that was. A memory that will always stay with me. It was a time where I learned a lot about life, about how to what was funny, what was serious, because at that age you don't really know, do you? You know, nobody.
Yeah.
So I would say 50% of it was the music. The other 50 that I was learning was what it was like to be friends, what friends meant, how you, as a younger person, looked up to older people, and how I learned then at a very early age how you should support a young singer, because that's what was happening a lot in the choir that I was involved with. There was a good range of old and young, and I think those things stayed with me throughout my career. I would say that was a major input, I would say, influence of what I wanted to create later in life.
I hear that so many times. I myself sang in a choir when I was a child, and I can still remember that community feel and that friendship. And yesterday also I spoke to a South African soprano, and we talked about this whole culture in South Africa, also the choir singing and how that gets the discipline, you know, and the working towards something together in a group, you know, that sort of idea.
Yes, yeah. I think a lot of the time, and you don't read. I think obviously it's a big word, isn't it? This amateur. You know, you talk about amateur choirs or professional choirs. You know, the goal and the aim for a lot of amateur choirs is much bigger. You know, there's no financial reward as such. It's the journey they go on together, which is more important than the end goal. So, you know, when you're working for those sort of things, it has a massive impact, more than people actually realize, I would say. I think maybe the people often the people within the choir don't actually realize the impact.
Yeah.
You don't realize how lucky you are. Yeah.
Because, you mentioned now something that I didn't think about, and it's, yes, that, you know, there's no financial reward, yet people go every week and few times a week and go and practice and put so much effort in, and it's about what you're doing, not about the financial reward.
Yes, yeah, and I think it's really, I've learned maybe you know, professionally for me now, that the aim is to try and get the same type of people together to work together.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose it's like a football team. I always think of choirs as a football team. If you've got the players that you want, you can mold them better. You know, and that's where it's, you know, there's a lot more to just a voice in the choir. There's you know, you need different characters. So a good choir is built on lots of things, not just the voice.
So did you also study music? You know, did you play an instrument?
Yeah, so I was a bit of a late starter, really. I was lucky. I didn't have pushy parents. They waited for me to say I wanted to have lessons before I had any piano lessons. And I suppose I remember being in secondary school, and that's where I started to go to choir. And I tried to keep it very quiet. It was not cool at all to be in a male voice choir at the age of 30. 13 to 16 is possibly the most uncool, at that time, the most uncool thing ever. And I remember we used to rehearse in the school I was in. And when we were leaving the school, there was youth club on at the same time as choir rehearsal. So you can imagine all the cool kids going to the youth club and Aloud Phillips walking into choir. So it was like, oh, please don't nobody see me. And please don't anybody see me. It's like, oh, no. So I had to creep, you know. And then I remember also to go to a concert. We'd walk from my house. Me and my dad would walk from my house to catch the bus. And to pass the bus, you had to go past this shop. And the shop was the coolest shop to be in, to go by and stand, you know. There was me going up in this suit that was too big, having to pass all my friends who were all the cool gang, you know, starting to do this, venture out and all sorts. But actually, it's funny to turn the tables back, I don't know, goodness knows how many years since I left school. In reunions, when I speak to people, they tell me the same people, the same friends said that, oh, I thought it was amazing I was in the choir.
Really?
It was incredible. All that time I was thinking, oh, please don't see me, please, you know, pass, you know, and you know, and it's interesting how so many contact me, so many of my friends contact me and say, oh, I'm so amazed what you've done. And we remember you going to choir, and remember you sneaking in, and we could always see it, and I was like, oh, you know, and so it wasn't very cool then. So I think that's another thing that's influenced me, that I've tried to make singing in a male voice choir cool. for people that age. I would hate for anybody to have the experiences that I felt at the time. Although it's funny now to look back, it was like, something you're really passionate in. It wasn't very cool. I thought, I thought it was cool. So that is that's another tick I would say in my box of where we've got to today is starting to put young, seeing what it's like to be in a male adult situation, but also to make it accessible for young people. I think that's really, really important. That stops so many people in the world and they're doing things because they haven't got the access to it.
Exactly.
And I think what I've learned also is that the choir has to bend it so it makes it cool for the young one, not the other way around. It's, and that can be the repertoire, that can be what you do, that could be, it's because I remember I've had a chat with my dad for years about going to chapel or church. Chapel's very popular in Wales. But I said, why did you go? He said, all my friends are there. So it was like going to see my friends. And he said, when I was in the choir, all my mates in the choir. That's not as much the same now. So whenever I try to get young people to join the choir, which is not as popular as it was, I must say, I've been very lucky that I have these young voices, but I always try and get them in twos, in pairs to come.
Oh, yeah.
It's very important that, right, you come this week, okay, next time, do you know anybody else would like to come with you? I'd rather somebody come with them to rehearsal than they can't even sing, so they're not on their own.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, and it's, so I think it's had, so going back to the studying music, it was just a natural progression that I did music in secondary school, that I went on to do it in A-levels. And so there was a big time. I had big influences as well. Two teachers were very influential, really sort of got me on the road for excellence. And then I went off to university to study music. And I think those are the times when I started to do the things I really loved. So I did arranging for choirs, conducting. And that, I think that time was there was some paths crossing, as in my background with choirs, and my family, I suppose, and then with the actual educational side. So it was coming together, heart and mind, I would say.
Wow.
So
this is also a story that John Mortimer. I spoke to him a while ago, and it's the same thing. It's almost as if you were led, it was like the path, you went on this path and just these things happen.
Yeah, it's a funny thing when you've got a passion for something. The only way I could explain it is if you've got a deep passion for something, whatever happens in life, what everybody tells you, you try and relate it to that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So if things like if I'm reading a book or something like that, and I do read a lot of autobiographies and things like that, and I think of something and they say it, and I think, oh, how can that relate to choir? Oh yeah, that we could introduce that to choir, or or I don't know, an artist does some things. I said, oh, that we could, or even a businessman. I read books on business and things. I said, oh, we could introduce that. Why not? So I think if you've got a real deep passion for something, you can't get away from it. It's people say, oh, just switch off. No, I never switch off. But there.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you give also opportunity to children who, like you say, don't necessarily can have the best voices, because I think we live also in a world where sometimes there are things where children are excluded just because they're not that perfect, or they're not at that specific level. And you sometimes think it's about more than that. It's about really developing this child, or giving the child the opportunity to express themselves.
Yes, I would say, there's times where the sort of the underdog singers come into the room and actually turned out better than the person that was going in first. The thing is with a voice, and especially if you're training a voice with a choir, it's a chorister you want really rather than a singer. So they turn out to be sometimes you can get a wonderful singer who just wants to be heard. whereas a chorister, will gel with others. And it's been part of the team, and they'll bring something to that group which somebody else can't. But to give somebody, opportunities, I think that is the key thing. I think, what do you want to achieve, I would say, is to give people wonderful opportunities through male voice choir singing. That is my main goal, I would say.
Well, I have to say here, my choir teacher, Annemarie van der Walt, she used to give me a chance, and I wasn't the best singer. So this is why I love what you're doing as well, because I remember my years in the choir was so wonderful for me, and I knew I wasn't the best singer, but it was that opportunity that I got.
I remember somebody telling me once that if you get a room full of anybody and they know each other, and you ask them to go in an order of how good they are, they normally get the order the same as what the teacher would put them in.
Really?
Yeah, so people do know where they are. They stand in their rankings, don't they? And I think sometimes if you've got a really good team that working together, they appreciate where you are in that ladder. And I think if you can get that, you get something really, really special. There's no individuals, is there really? Even if they might be different levels.
Yeah. Let's talk about your boys choir now, the John's Boys Choir.
Yes, yeah. So after graduating in university, obviously I lived in a village where there were choirs, and I was very fortunate to have an opportunity to conduct some of them. And obviously it was an interesting time. As I remember telling you that in villages, there was 2 choirs in my village, 2 male voice choirs. And I was in the Rose Orpheus choir with my father as a young lad, 13 years of age. However, when I was a lot older, forward 15 odd years, I became the conductor of the other male voice choir.
Really?
Yeah. So, and it was a bit like, I know, Real Madrid and Barcelona, Manchester United, Man City, the big rivalry.
I can imagine.
And it's never been done, I don't think, before. It won't be done after, I don't think, that, you had somebody who was in, maybe, sang in one and conducted the other. So it was a
How did your dad feel about that?
Well, it's one of that is an interesting thing, because I'd had my grounding, my background, my life was so much of the choir I was in as a young man. But it's one of those, I think, when you become professional in something, and you strive for professionalism, it's a job, it's a bit like a team, if you play in a team, it doesn't mean you only manage that team. You've built that business, you only in that business. And I had a very successful time with the choir. And it was a really, enjoyable time to start to learn the craft of arranging pieces for them, starting to enter and win competitions. Yes, it was really interesting. And what is interesting is that both of the choirs, now this is the link now, both the choirs were conducted by 2 very profound musicians in the area, 2 dedicated men. And their both names started with John.
Really?
Yeah. So the Rose Orpheus was John Glyn Williams, and the Rose Male Voice Choir was John Tudor Davis. So forward a few years, so back in 2016 now, where the both choirs used to go to rehearse many years back, when the mines are open, was called the Institute, the Stute in Broad Street. And they had a special evening, and I decided to get some singers together. And I tried to get singers that were in both choirs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that weren't singing in the choirs at the moment, because, commitments is much harder these days, actually. It's funny, we could talk about that as well, about commitments, And so I put them together, and we sang arrangements by the 2 Johns. And
okay.
I thought, what name can we call it? And that's where they came walking on stage. I just called it John's Boys, to honor these 2 men, and that's where it all started, really. And that's where the name came from, and that's and it's it's an interesting one. I have so many emails saying, "Hi, John." I have people waving. I was going down the road, "Oh, hi, John. I'll see you in the
Oh,
concert." I say,
really?
"What?" It's
Yeah.
like, "Well, my name's not John," and there's no John in the choir either, which is incredible.
Really?
Yeah, we've had all sorts. I remember we went to one concert, and this man thought everybody in the choir was called John. It's like, no. So yeah, so it's that's where it all
Yeah.
started.
So the other two
Um,
choirs, they don't
yeah,
exist anymore,
yeah,
or do
they still
oh, they
exist.
still
Yes,
exist?
they
Yeah.
still exist. But so that's when it all started, really, and that's when I started to really, because I formed it. I started to put my stamp on
Oh,
on
yeah.
on John's Boys, what it stood for, and then it's another learning curve, I would say, and things take time to gel as a choir. Things take time to be recognised as well. People just don't have instant success, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then in 2019, we went to the international Llangollen International Eisteddfod, which is world-renowned Eisteddfod, and we won the male voice category.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
so we won the male voice category, and then what happens is all the category winners go against each other in the evening for the Pavarotti Choir of the World prize. And this has been won by choirs, incredible choirs over the years from all over the world, America, South Africa, some wonderful choirs. But what was interesting in my mind, I'd known for 30 odd years, say, that no Welsh male voice choir had ever won Choir of the World. So in my mind, I've been planning this out for many years, really, that to win it, you have to do something different, because a lot of male voice choirs have won the male category. They've been very successful. We think, we were saying earlier, weren't we, about how sort of, renowned across the world they are male voice choirs. They're renowned for winning things as well. So they would get to the category final a lot. But to go that extra step, I knew that possibly I had to do something different that they'd done. And it was an incredible night. And next to me here is the trophy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's the Llangollen Choir of the World Pavarotti Trophy, 6th of July 2019.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yes.
But what did you do that was so different?
Well, that's a good call. I find this question very, very difficult to answer, because I would hate to upset anybody else, but you have to look at things in prep. Preparation was different. Whereas traditional choirs were rehearsing once or twice a week, I would be asking these young singers who couldn't commit to maybe traditional choirs. This is an interesting one. Many years back, people didn't have TV and things like that. So remember, we go back to the men coming from the pit. Their only source of freedom possibly was to sing in the choir.
Oh, yeah.
These days, it's, people are moving away from the area, and people are a lot more busy. So I knew that there was no way I could get these young, busy young men who've got families, busy careers, or in university. There's no way I could do once or twice a week. So we changed how we'd rehearse. So the choir actually decide when they rehearse, not me. They pick the date,
really?
Which is, different. And then, so that was one thing, preparation. The repertoire we sort of did was different. A difficult piece is a difficult piece. It's the way you go about it. And I would say just a bit more visual, maybe, and a different sound. I tried to take away, and not criticism, I tried to take away that anybody would realise we were from Wales, so we didn't sing a Welsh song.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, wow. So I try to, so the adjudicators, the judges, are an international panel, and I try to portray that to those that we were an international choir. It's there's pluses and negatives, I suppose, in that, and how you perceived in your own country. Yes, it was an incredible night. It took a long time to actually sink in. It actually happened,
I can imagine. Yeah, but what a motivation it is also for the choir then, I think, to get them together. And I mean, after they won, could you see that they were more inclined to make time for the choir?
Well, that is interesting. That is, yeah, I would say, going for this goal that you're trying to get somebody to get somewhere that nobody else has been is hard to get somebody, to keep them the motivation, to get people to get to that standard, is tricky, because you ask them, it's amateurs again. I'm not, it's not their,
Yeah.
It's trying to get them to believe in the path and the journey without any success or without any reward as such, and that's hard. Yeah. That's hard. If you've got a hard job to do, but you're getting paid for it, it's a lot easier.
Exactly,
So it's, and I think going back to when I was a young chorister, the age of 13, I realized how everybody is unique and you need to treat people differently, individually. And I would say that's where the choir don't really know what goes on between me and the others. It's a very personal thing, So I would have regular conversations with people individually, but, not as I wouldn't do that in front of everybody else. And it's just trying to find out, I'm not sure how many conductors would have conversations with partners and wives, how they're feeling, and how's that going to affect their performance in the choir rehearsal, or their wives reach out to me and say things like, how is he today? He's come there to express the music, very expressive thing to ask somebody, and then it becomes a very manageable thing between to people, to get them all working together. And then it was an incredible achievement. And then a couple of months later, it was interesting, because every year we have another Eisteddfod, the National Eisteddfod of Wales. And we'd put our name down to compete in that for the first time. We never competed. So we're up against just the Welsh male voice choirs now. And I think there was like 16. So you can imagine, we just won Choir of the World, and you're up against 16 other male voice choirs from Wales. So it was, can you imagine? So we won.
Wow.
Yeah, so we won. And you can imagine, if we hadn't won, people said, oh, we beat Choir of the World.
Yeah.
And
so the pressure was on.
Yeah, and it was interesting, early that year as well, we'd won another, the TV, Welsh Male Voice Choir TV competition as well. So we did it was the hat trick. But it was interesting. I sort of had a fear. I've got a post somewhere that I've sent to all the lads, that I think this year we will win the lot. And we did. Yes, we did. We won 4. We won we won the Welsh TV and the male voice category, Choir of the World, and then the National Eisteddfod. Took 4 in 1 year. So it was
I think now when other choirs see your name on the list of people taking part in a competition, they're just going to assume you're going to win.
Well, it's it's getting somewhere and reaching those standards. It's staying there is a different. It's a different. That's a different sort of art form for the choir and the conductor. Yeah. So it was sadly just after we had lots of invites all over the world, but COVID came along, which really put us in the back foot. We lost lots of concerts. And I'd say it's a bad time, really bad timing for the choir, but we got a lot out of it. We carried on throughout that time. We were rehearsing online, and then I think when we got to meet up again, I think possibly it changed, and we realized how important each member was to each other. And I would say the dynamics changed again.
Well, I think it's a lot of artists have told me during lockdown also that musicians that it was this time where they just reached this level where they were invited for something, or they just the role that they really waited for, and then lockdown came. So it was, for many, it was that they reached that point where it was now sort of the place where they wanted to be, and then lockdown came. But I wonder if, like you say now, there were other things that we learned through lockdown, and you saying now that how the choir then realized, there's this community feel, how they appreciate each other.
Yeah, it's it was an interesting time for everybody, I suppose, and you realise what is important to you, the important things, and we should always remember that and not take them for granted, I would say. But no, and then we had a few more concerts. It took people time to get back into things. You know, it's not as simple. The voice is a muscle, so it takes time to. And then obviously we got involved with the TV program, which changed the choir. How can I say it? The Britain's Got Talent was it was just an incredible moment, I would say.
I can imagine, because then it's also, you have an audience that's not necessarily going to listen to choir music, and suddenly you get them aware of the music.
Yeah, I'd known for a long time that we were different, and I knew a long time we had something special in the sound. And we'd gone to Ireland and sung there and did really, really well, just the way people reacted. And we had something different, I would say. But it was always sad that we were never going to not being heard. So when the opportunity to go on the show came, I think the biggest thing was it'll give us a platform for people to hear us.
Exactly, yeah.
That was the biggest thing. And it certainly has, it was... it's an incredible machine to be involved with. It really is, live TV. Yeah. So obviously,
did you decide to just go for it, or what was the idea for the?
We've got, obviously, when we are invited to go on the show, it's a big call. It's sort of what sort of image was it? Is it going to change the image of the choir? Was it going to, change how people saw us or thought of us? So we had a discussion, and it was decided that I think it would be a good thing to do it, raise our profile. But I don't think we realised then how big the profile was going to change us. And then, remember, it's going back to my first choir when I was 13. I didn't want to go on and do what everybody else had been doing, the traditional pieces, possibly linked to Wales. I don't know, linked to choirs, I suppose. So that was when I decided that we need to do something different. And that's when I started to arrange this song called Biblical by Callum Scott. And I think it took people by surprise that we were going to do this arrangement. And and I remember it's interesting really because we normally have a piano accompaniment. So you'd play with a piano, accompanying Gleanne, our wonderful accompanist to play. But that doesn't happen on the show. On the show, you've got live tracks.
Oh, I see.
So we never sung with tracks before. And I was thinking, where the heck can we get these tracks from? Anyway, I did some research, and I got a name, a really good, and then Welshman created these tracks for us, And but what was interesting, he actually lived in Canada.
Really?
Yeah, so I'd have these tracks sent to me at silly clock in the morning because he's in a different time zone.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing, just to back and to when we were saying doing this. And we had the dates to go and do the auditions in the Lowry in Manchester, which is a gorgeous venue. And I think that's when we realised again, wow, this is a bit different. The crowds are all outside waiting for people, these guest artists and things. And we went on stage, and it was just absolutely amazing. The feedback from the 4 judges. So Mr. Simon Cowell, the god of music sort of thing, TV music. He's there. It's weird just thinking, there he is. Don't stare. I'm just trying. And you go on. You're trying your best to act normal and be normal, sort of thing. It was quite hard. You know that whatever you're going to say is going to be live on TV. Yeah. And all these things are going through your mind, right? What are you going to say? And I think the big thing was, were you going to win the show? It was more, no, we just want people to hear us. And that was, and I remember, different things like the crowd. I remember that, you're trying to conduct, and I couldn't hear the choir or the music or anything because the crowd thing was so loud. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then you get the 4 yeses. And and that's an interesting thing. The next day, you're thinking, did that really happen? Did I meet those? Did that happen? That audience, we never sung to an audience as big as that. And then you got the waiting game. Then you're not allowed to tell anybody. Obviously, it's a big top secret, and you're just waiting to see if you put through the live shows. And I remember being in. You're thinking, will we get through? Won't we get through? It's it's either yes or no sort of thing, and you go around. And I remember being in school. I was in a primary school, and the phone rang. I saw this number, and then they phoned up to say you've been put through to the live shows. And it's like, wow, and people telling you how many millions watch it and so on. And so obviously the next step was obviously this is top secret. Not telling anybody we through, but then the auditions go out each week, like a TV, and I remember being out. And my phone just went absolutely crazy. I thought, what? Because they don't tell you when you're going to, it's top secret. You don't tell you when you're on the TV.
Oh, I see.
And my phone just went crazy. So what the? And they realized they released us on the TV. And my phone, I had people on the drive outside tooting their horn saying, hey, well done. It was, And what was interesting, the day, it was a Saturday night we went out to TV, and millions of people watch it, and our Facebook followers just went through the roof. But strangely enough, I don't know how it worked out this, but we had a rehearsal the next day as well. So that was really nice that we all met up the next we all met up the next day, and we were looking at messages people have written and the feedback, and it was great. And then we had to go down to London. There was 3 of us went down to London to do some interviews, and that was just, and I remember being on the train, the 3 of us remember every stop we went to, we were on the train, and the next stop is, we had a look, and another 1 million people had seen it. It was like, wow, it's just
really
crazy. Yeah. So, and then,
but that, I mean, I saw it, I saw the audition, no, not the audition. Yeah, that it's that where you sang the first time, it's basically the audition that you say.
Yeah.
And you think, I mean, what year was that when you did the Britain's Got Talent?
That was only last year. That was not even a year ago. Wasn't even a year ago.
Yeah, and I saw it only recently. It came on my newsfeed. So I'm not even in Britain to have watched the show, but it came on my newsfeed. And so it shows you that it's still going on. It's still, people still
it is incredible, because the song itself, biblical, wasn't in the charts. It went out the charts, but when we sang it, it went back in, and it actually went higher than it was when it was in the charts.
Wow.
And I think we're up to, I don't know how many million, it's like 21 million or something people have watched it on various streams. So then obviously you go to the live shows down in London again. We spend a lot of time up and down in London. I remember we were chatting on the front of the bus about how many times we stopped in the same services. We seemed to be there all up and down. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, and staying over, and it was good. Yeah, it was just, and the social profile has gone huge. And then obviously the next big thing that we performed in the Royal Variety Show, which is just, that's just
what a privilege.
You're walking around and seeing all these, these major artists. You're just walking past, you think, oh, that was him there. No, that's her. So so it's been a really incredible time. We recorded our first EP as well. So we recorded 5 songs in a studio in London, and that's been released, and that's just wonderful to see, all these downloads and people buying the. Yes, it's.
But I love the fact that the public was so intrigued, and that it's choir music. That it's not something else, some other form of entertainment, but that it's real choir music, and it just shows you that if you, I believe if you do something and put it out there, people are willing to take it. People are willing to listen. And
well, it's interesting, because before Britain's Got Talent and our concerts, we might have a concert in our local village, and we'd have maybe 200, 250 come. So after we'd been on the show, we decided to do a concert in a bigger venue. and we sold 800 tickets in a couple of hours.
Really?
And we
Wow.
had to put a second night on, and that sold out as well.
Wow.
So, you're looking at from 250 people in this area to 1,600. We've got a concert in 2 weeks' time, and I think there's over 1,000 tickets sold. So, it just shows, and the responses, because we've got this tour that we went to different venues. The response is incredible, the way it's sort of like a new audience.
Yeah.
I've been brought up that you just clap quietly in a concert. These are cheering, they're
Really
screaming out.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. And one of the biggest interesting thing is, obviously you got music that fits winning Llangollen International Eisteddfod to become Choir of the World. You've also got music that is for a TV reality show. Now you can't do them both. But the same choir has done both, I think, which is really, really impressive. The choir have sung repertoire to win Choir of the World. They've also sung repertoire to do really well on a TV program. And I think that is very, very powerful and very interesting. They haven't kept the same. They've moved. The swing of what they're doing has moved in relation to what the market has been. And I think that is a massive strength of the choir. But what is really important that in our concerts, we sing both. We sing the winning choir of the world music, and we also sing the sort of more pop. And all the pieces go down just as well.
Really? So
that
just shows you.
It does. It does show you that people, appreciate quality, and they appreciate people putting a passion into something. And they're willing to accept different types of music. The clapometer is just as good for the pieces we send for in the choir world than we do for the Britain's Got Talent. So it's really interesting times.
I think that you said that the audience really cheered and clapped and went a bit crazy when you sang on Britain's Got Talent. It just shows you the audience that it's a human reaction to be that excited when something is beautiful, and then sometimes we think we're not allowed to do it when you're sitting in the concert hall.
Well, I always say to the lads, you've got to express yourselves, and they're your target audience, and you have to make them feel that they're part of the song. So that's really important. And if you can do that, you're doing something right, aren't you? If they can feel the music, that's your job as the artist, sort of thing. It's a bit like a chef, I suppose, isn't it? The chef makes the food. The choir are maybe the waiters taking it to them, and the people eating the food are the audience.
Yeah.
So that's the job, really. The choir's job is to deliver the music from what the composer intentions were to the audience.
Yeah, that's true. And do you think this the fact that you had this exposure and exposure to people who don't normally would listen to choir music, do you think that's a great thing also for younger children to have a look at that and see, okay, maybe I would be interested in singing in a choir as well?
Yeah, I think, I'm slipping again. Can I?
Yeah. Do it.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, we go back to me going up the road hiding or coming out of school, so none of my friends would see me. We've got 2 young lads in the choir in school, and they're like celebrity status being in a choir now. So that's a lot different to when I was in school. I was the only one. I was hiding. They're now like celebrity status, that they're involved in it. And that's wonderful. I'd say how we perceive being in a choir has changed a lot. I would say over the years has changed. And if I can do anything to help that, I'd do my utmost to do so.
And I think also it's somebody also mentioned or told me that in South Africa, for example, where you have the townships and the people don't have money, to buy instruments, they have the instrument. It's your voice, so it's you can sing, and we all can sing. Maybe not everybody as good, but you have the voice, and you can go for training or for singing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest there with the voice, how the human voice is so unique, and it changes from where you're born, where you live, sort of thing. That's incredible. That is, how we've got different countries that sound different, timbres in their voice. But like you say, it's where we're all born with a voice, and it's the free instrument. It's the only internal instrument as well, which makes it really interesting, isn't it? It's the one that's connected to the heart the most. By far, it's renowned that singers don't sing if they don't feel great. And, the instrument will change, whereas the piano, wonderful instrument, will sound the same. I'm not sure. I know my old piano, he hasn't got many feelings, but, it's an internal instrument, isn't it?
Yeah. So now the age difference in your choir, or the age range, I would say.
Yeah, we've got a big age range. We've got some 14-year-olds, 15, right up to numbers that start with 7. I don't know what the next number is, but it's a big gap, that, isn't it?
Amazing!
And I think both ends of the ladder get something from each other, I would say.
Of course.
I certainly do. I certainly have kept that youthful element. If surrounded with youthful singers, it does make a difference. Does to me anyway. Yeah.
But now, Aloud, what is the wish for you for the choir and the future?
Well, yeah, I think it's a tricky one. That is, amongst all this, there is me, which there's, how can I say it? It's something I would like to pursue myself, and this to be my full-time career. So obviously at the moment, I've had the songs published, and I'm sending those out and get a lot of requests all over the world for my arrangements. So at the moment in time, I'm concentrating on things like that, and trying to get as many people in the world to perform my music. But it's not easy, it's not easy at all. So so for me personally, that's where I am up to. With the choir.
But let me just ask you this: so you arrange and write for choir only, or for voice? You compose for voice?
Yeah, so all the arrangements we've performed on the shows and on the EP, I've arranged for them. It's quite unique, really, that somebody would write. Normally in these TV programs, they would have somebody to write the music for you, but because it's such a sort of selected market, I would say it's not heard of as. There are modern arrangements of this type of pop music, but it's interesting. My arrangements, I would say, bring me back to sitting in chapel, and they are very based on sort of my sort of traditional upbringing with a mixture of new. So I would say the style is quite old, but the melodies are new. So I write the music. So that's what I'm up to personally at the moment. Is just trying to sort of go down that alley pathway a bit more, I would say. And this has given me that platform to do that. Yeah. To reach out to choirs and say, would you like me to write an arrangement for you? So I'm getting a lot of requests all over the world. That's why there's an Australian choir learning the song. So there's choirs, So it's the actual arrangement itself is selling well. Yeah, but what I've had to do now is I've arranged them for mixed voice choirs and female choirs. Because I know obviously that it's quite a targeted market, male voice repertoire. So that's where I'm up to at the moment, which I'm real good, really enjoying that. Bit of a change for me, writing for a mixed voice choir. Yeah, so that's where I'm up to. The choir are busy. They've got these tours, so that's a different ballgame. We're trying to get everybody in these different places.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got a lot of hotels, buses booked. So it's really good. We've got some wonderful artists with us as well, Welsh guest artists. So it's just balancing everything, I would say, trying to be, obviously we're doing a tour, which most professional companies would do. It'd be hard enough as an amateur to do a tour, never mind 38 amateurs.
Yeah.
So it's got this year's got its different challenges that we've had in the past. Yeah.
So are you a good businessman? Can you do that side of things as well?
I do that side, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I've learned lots. I've lots. I've been on Zoom calls like this with big theatres, and at the same time, I'm Googling what that word meant because I haven't got a clue what that word meant. So I'm like, what's that mean? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do that. Yeah,
I'm sure they're Googling on the other side what your musical tells me.
Yeah, so I'm never used. This year, I think I've used a calculator more than I did when I was in school, trying to look at ticket sales, how much this costs, how much of that costs, trying to sorting out rooms in different venues, that we're staying over. And then just trying to map out. I've actually learned a lot about geography as well. I wasn't terrible at geography, but now I know where places are because we'll get a request in.
Yeah.
But my day.
I hope you make a little star at Vienna so that you can come and sing here. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Well, we get requests every. I had one this morning, Australia.
Really?
Canada, it's just please come here, please come there. So it's just making the most of it, and it's But no, we could do with an agent to come in and take all the job off, take all the work off me, and let me.
So you can just focus on the creative side of things.
Yes, yeah. I suppose I'm trying to use my creative side in the planning,
in the business as well.
Yeah. But it would be nice if somebody come along and took all these not so nice jobs off me, and I could just do the jobs I really like.
Yeah, because I think that side, you get people who enjoy that side of things as well. For them, that's wonderful to do that organizational side of things.
Yeah, they do it a lot. They do it a lot quicker, don't they? They do things a lot quicker, and they don't. Yeah, they don't stay up all night thinking, did I book the bus? And even though you've checked 5 times you booked the bus, you're still worried that it's going to be there. Yeah, efficiency is the.
Well, Aloud, I'm going to make the wish that you come to Vienna because I would love to see your choir here and meet you in person as well. And really, I wish you all the best. It's amazing. And talking to you now, you've got such a wonderful personality and energy around you, and I can just imagine that's what you also are giving to your choir, and that's what they also get from you.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity and invitation.
It's a great pleasure.
Gravity don't make no sense when you're around. I come up against myself when demons in my head get loud. I don't know how you do it, but you turn them down.